All right, man, peace. So the Boston Celtics have come out and protected home court. They've also shown why they're the best coached team in the NBA, as well as being the hardest workers in the NBA. And let me say this, many people, including myself, have greatly underrated the level of talent on that team, especially Mr. Terry Rozier, their formerly backup point guard who has been starting for them since Kyrie Irving, their superstar starting point guard, has gone down with a knee surgery. Of course, this has prompted the starting point guard for the Milwaukee Bucks, Mr. Eric Bledsoe, to claim that he does not even know who Terry Rozier is, in a very vain attempt to big-time him, which is interesting because normally when you big-time someone, it's because you're big yourself. And as we all know, Eric Bledsoe is not big in the NBA. But anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Terry Rozier, let's talk about him. Now, Celtics fans will tell you he is the best player on the court, scoring 23 points in each of the Celtics.
And that move was embarrassing. If a player executed a move like that against me on the court, the last thing that I would say about them in a post-game interview is that I didn't know who they were. Sometimes, and I don't care how much a player is embarrassing you on the court or how bad the trash talk gets, you have to give him his props in the post-game interview. Leave all that shit on the court. I remember when I was a kid in 1992, the Chicago Bulls, they played the New York Knicks in the second round of the playoffs. One of the great second round matchups in NBA history. The series went 7 games, and that is when John Starks really brought his name into prominence in the NBA. And of course, the next season, after the Knicks had traded Mark Jackson and had allowed Gerald Wilkins to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they made John Starks a starter. They won 60 games during the regular season. They had home court against the Chicago Bulls and actually won the first 2 games of that series. And after game 2, Michael Jordan said, I didn't follow him in college. I didn't know who he was in the NBA, but I know about him now. Michael Jordan gave John Starks his props. And for those of you who don't know, John Starks, before he hurt his knee in the latter part of the 94 season, was one of the top shooting guards in the NBA. You know, you get a lot of these younger guys who are about 22, 23 years old, and they're LeBron James superfans or they're Kobe Bryant superfans, and they'll say, well, Jordan didn't go up against great shooting guards. And those of us who grew up in that era, we know different, so I don't really bother going back and forth with them. We know about Mitch Richmond and Clyde Drexler and Reggie Miller and Joe Dumars, and John Starks and Rolando Blackman, Jeff Malone. The list goes on and on of multiple-time All-Star players that Michael Jordan went against, and Hall of Famers as well. Players whose careers got cut short, like Reggie Lewis, who would have been a Hall of Famer had he not died from a heart ailment. Point being is this, John Starks showed that he was worthy of praise, and Michael Jordan gave him his just due because he left it on the court, and their trash talk was amongst the worst in NBA history. They would almost get into fights. So Eric Bledsoe, who's never made an All-Star game in his life, who's known for being on the Kentucky team, I believe, with John Wall and Boogie Cousins, and in the NBA, he was the backup for Chris Paul. He's pretty much been a fringe starting point guard in the NBA. If he and Terry Rozier were competing for the same spot, I believe that Terry Rozier would probably beat him out. He's bigger and he plays better defense. But anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Celtics' first 2 playoff games. Now, he referred to Eric Bledsoe as Drew Bledsoe after game 1, which maybe would explain this.
Yeah, I think that was an honest mistake, to be real. But you never know. It may have been something that carried over from trash talk that they were engaging in on the court. But at least he didn't try to say he didn't know who he was.
After game 2 last night?
Terry Rozier's gotten off to a strong start to the series. No turnovers in 78 minutes. How personally do you take that matchup?
Who?
Terry Rozier.
I don't even know who it is.
Let me help you out. That's the guy that's making you look like a bitch on the basketball court, bro. He crossed you over at the end of game 1, and you fell back so bad you looked like you was Michael Jackson doing a moonwalk. Like, you should be embarrassed of yourself.
I like Eric
You don't
a
know
lot.
who that is?
I really do. I like Eric a tremendous amount. I am confused
You don't know
sometimes
who
about some of the things
He
he
know
says.
who he is. I wish this was
That is the most unprofessional
another
thing
channel
I've
that
ever
we can really
seen.
voice our opinion on.
Now listen, I can understand
Clean up
saying
your
that
language. You
before
can
the
say whatever
series.
you want.
Hard in this situation,
Before the
Rachel.
series, you can say that, but after you getting your butt busted,
I agree. He just sounds like a jackass. I don't know who he is. And he's busted your ass the last 2 games and you're down 0-2. It's like, dude, you're Eric Bledsoe, okay? You're not Stephen Curry. You're not Russell Westbrook. You're not Chris Paul. Like, you've done nothing in the NBA, really. Certainly not in the NBA playoffs for you to sit there and say that you don't even know who he is. Like, knock it off.
That's unprofessional for not knowing the scouting report and not knowing who your assignment is.
That's Paul's taking it a whole other area. But, you know, I kind of feel what he's saying. Like, if you're Terry Rozier, you're saying to yourself, well, you don't know who I am. That's clear because you didn't study my moves. Because if you had studied my moves, you would have known about the step back, you know, between the legs move where I hit the 3-pointer in your face. Well, you were 10 feet away from me. You wasn't even in the screen, man.
He knows.
He knows.
Like, look at this shit. He got crossed so bad he gave up.
But he need to wake up and figure it out.
For that man to be a backup player, this is
Like, he got crossed 3 separate times on that play.
a role player that's giving you buckets, right?
He's a role player, but I bet you that he gives Kyrie a very good run in practice. And that's what you need. I'm not saying that he's going back and forth with Kyrie, but I bet you when he's going against Kyrie, you know, when they run their little intra-team scrimmage, he's making Kyrie work. And all great athletes need that. All great people need that. Iron sharpens iron. And it's doing a lot to help Rozier as well to guard a Kyrie Irving in practice. You know that you can pretty much guard anyone in the NBA if you can guard Kyrie in practice or try to.
Right? Giving you buckets on this play right here, the go-ahead 3. And you about to run to the paint. Couldn't come out and contest the shot.
Forget the paint. He almost ran into the photographers on the baseline.
Shot.
You don't
Better know who he is.
You don't know who that is. You gonna know where y'all.
He's the guy.
Playoffs. So you're watching the
He's the
playoffs.
guy that's outscoring you and your backcourt mate 25-96.
Absolutely. Rozier and Jaylen Brown are embarrassing the backcourt for Milwaukee. Look, I predicted before the series that I thought that it would be either Milwaukee in 6 or Boston in 7. I may have to amend that because, as I've stated, I've underrated the talent level of the Boston Celtics. I'm going to wait till after I watch Game 3, though. I need to see what Milwaukee brings to the table in Game 3. They just have a very bad mix. Them and the Washington Wizards, their personnel is just a very bad mix. And both those teams are going to have to make some trades in the offseason. Who knows? They may make trades with each other because they each seem to be lacking what the other team needs. Milwaukee needs help in the backcourt. They need either Bradley Beal or John Wall. I would be looking to get John Wall possibly. And maybe you can get a third team involved. But they also need to unload Milwaukee. I'm talking about Milwaukee needs to unload Jabari Parker and a couple of those other bums on their team.
That's pretty embarrassing.
That's very embarrassing.
You should know who that is.
Man, what?
He knows who it is. It's just he
You can't,
Yeah, he knows who it is, Paul. He's just trying to be a jackass.
you can't say that,
You
Rachel.
don't talk. He's talking trash. And to
That
me,
ain't
that
talking
is the
trash
clear.
when that man
He's
is-
Doesn't know
talking
who that
trash
is.
when you're getting.
You're playing that type of defense. You don't respect him, and you don't know who he is.
Nah, I mean, that's not the
He's
right
just
thing.
trying to say I don't respect him, and to me, I feel as
Okay.
if you need to
Say
show
you
that
don't.
on the court before you show that.
I like the fact that he's doing it even though he's getting his tail bust.
I don't understand.
No.
What, you like that?
I don't like that, Tracy. Tracy said he likes the fact that Bledsoe's talking shit even though he's getting his ass whooped. I don't like that. I think that it's delusional. I think that it's one thing if you're scoring 25 and the other guy's scoring 30 and you're still talking and the series is 1-1, or even if you're down 0-2 and you've been competitive. Eric Bledsoe's been terrible. He just needs to shut the hell up.
Typically, guys talk trash when they also are playing well. He's not playing well, and he's still trying to trash talk. So I got to give him some props on that. But come on, bro. You got to step your game
I
up,
don't
dog.
understand what Eric Bledsoe has done in this league to talk like this.
Thank you, sir. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, Eric Bledsoe, who the fuck are you, dude? Like, you rode the bench for CP3. You one of those guys who hid behind the starters on the bench and played 20 minutes a game, 15 minutes a game, and made people believe that you were better than you really were. You almost got involved in the trade for Kyrie Irving only because you're on Clutch Sports. You would have been a better fit on Cleveland because it would have allowed you to play a little bit of the off-guard position because you're not a real point guard. Like, this guy's talking, you think that he made 5 or 6 All-Star games.
Like, you're still trying to establish yourself.
By the way, producer Dan uses my Arabic like
Thank you, Paul Pierce. Paul's like, you're still trying to establish yourself. And to be real with you, how much is he going to establish himself? Like, how old is Eric Bledsoe right now? He got to be in his late 20s. He was on the same team with John Wall and Boogie Cousins, if I remember correctly. So he got to be somewhere around 26, 27. Like, dude, the time is now for you. Is getting real short.
On to the Bucks. You can see the bottom of the crawl. It's like, what's the Bucks' biggest problem? And Paul Pierce cannot get past this incident.
What you mean with the biggest problem? That's the biggest problem right there. The backcourt for Milwaukee Bucks. You are getting outscored 96-25. They don't have...
That's embarrassing. Jaylen Brown looked like a superstar in the last 2 games.
They have Kyrie Irving. They have a young player in Brown and Terry Rozier, and they are kicking their butts.
It's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Boston Celtics in regards to what they do with some of their personnel. Are they going to try to package some of their young talent for a Kawhi Leonard or an Anthony Davis, or are they going to stand pat and just allow Kyrie and Gordon Hayward to come back healthy and see what they can do with that team? I think that they need a little bit of help in their front court, but who knows? They're playing so well, they might not need any help. They might just need their current stars to get healthy.
What about the system that the Bucks are playing, if you could even identify one? But it was supposed to change after Jason Kidd got fired.
What kind of system can you run? You have an all-world player and a guy who can get to the bucket. He's great in transition. You need to put shooting around him. Look at Ben Simmons. He doesn't take threes. This guy is a great player, and I'm talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo. He needs shooters around him, guys that can make shots. Look at these guys are consistently throwing up bricks.
Middleton, and Giannis are doing their job. They're not getting any help from nobody else.
Bledsoe has to make shots. Snell has to make shots. Jabari Parker, they have to.
They need to get rid of Jabari Parker, Paul. I stated this a while ago. Certainly coming into this series, they have too many of the same type of player. Too many of that 6'7", 6'8" forward, likes to dribble the ball too much, can't spot up, jump shoot. They just have to scrap that whole team and build from Antetokounmpo and Middleton, and everyone else is expendable.
I have to make 3 points.
That's why I had Celtics winning this series, because I knew these guys. I know it, like I said, I know what the Celtics are all about. I know their identity. These guys are going to compete. They have young, hungry talent on this team, and they're well coached. We don't know who Milwaukee.
Extremely well coached.
Bucks are. Now we start to see that.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to, and I'm trying to talk around it to be nice, because I think it is tough to be put in the position Joe Prunty was put in, where you get the team halfway through the season. It doesn't sound like you're getting the full-time job. It's sort of this weird netherworld. But it doesn't feel like they are getting coached the same way as the team on the other side of the floor.
Well, it's hard to be coached as well as the team on the other side of the floor when the team on the other side of the floor is being coached by the coach of the year. That being Brad Stevens. I mean, hello, what are you really watching? That's like saying, well, they're not really being as coached as well as the Spurs are being coached. I mean, no shit. That's why Popovich is going to the Hall of Fame. The Milwaukee Bucks, I think that they're going to put up a valiant effort in games 3 and 4. It wouldn't shock me if they won a couple of close games. It also wouldn't shock me if they lost a couple of close games and got swept. I've had a very difficult time reading this series from the start, and I'm not quite ready to put the nail in the coffin of the Milwaukee Bucks. I want to see how they look in Game 3.
It's hard to put that on the coach because he took over mid-season.
Well, that's what I mean.
He didn't have time to put his stamp on the team.
But I'm not seeing what I'm seeing from Brad Stevens and his staff.
I mean,
well, who the hell are you seeing that from other than maybe Popovich? I mean, what's wrong with this bitch, man?
I mean, Brad Stevens has established himself as a great coach. He's won 54 games without his key free agent signing this summer.
Bledsoe can't be talking.
Thank you, Paul.
Be talking like
and
this,
you're missing
Get back to that.
You can't do it. You just can't do it.
There we go. Back to that. Coming up.
Well, Bledsoe's already shown that he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. He'd be someone that I packaged to get rid of. We know that when he made up that idiotic statement about how he was waiting for his girlfriend in the beauty salon, when he claimed that he stated, "I want to get out of here," when he put that on Twitter, like, he's just an idiot. You have certain guys like that who come through these various sports leagues. They're just not that swift. But anyway, we'll see what happens in this Boston Celtics versus Milwaukee Bucks series. The Celtics will be a very, very tough out for anyone in the Eastern Conference. It's very obvious to me after I watched those first 2 games. Peace.